In the dense woods of New Jersey lies a stretch of asphalt known as Clinton Road. Locals whisper about it with a mixture of fear and awe, and those who've dared to drive its length at night speak of terrifying encounters that have left them changed forever. For decades, Clinton Road has been called the most haunted road in America, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur. The story I'm about to share with you is true. It happened just a few years ago, in the summer of 2018, to a group of friends who decided to explore the infamous road. They were all in their early 20s, thrill seekers who had grown up hearing the legends of Clinton Road. The ghost boy who haunts the bridge, the phantom headlights that chase cars at night, the eerie sounds that emerge from the woods. But they never truly believed in any of it. They thought it would be fun, a way to spend a Friday night scaring themselves silly. There were 4 of them: Mike, Jessica, Alex, and Lisa. They piled into Mike's old, beat-up sedan just as the sun dipped below the horizon. Clinton Road was about a 30-minute drive from their suburban homes. As they approached the road, an uneasy silence settled over the car. The dense trees seemed to close in around them, the moonlight barely penetrating the thick canopy overhead. "Let's park near the old bridge," Mike suggested, his voice breaking the tension. "You know, where the ghost boy supposedly shows up." The others agreed, though their earlier excitement had waned. The bridge was notorious in local folklore. It was said that if you threw a coin into the water at midnight, the ghost of a boy who drowned there would toss it back to you. No one really knew who the boy was or how he died, but the story had persisted for generations. They reached the bridge and parked the car. The headlights illuminated the old, crumbling structure. Jessica shivered, though it wasn't particularly cold. "This place gives me the creeps," she muttered. "Come on, it's just a story," Alex replied with a grin. He dug into his pocket and pulled out a few quarters. "Let's see if the ghost boy wants to play." They stood at the edge of the bridge, peering down into the dark water below. Alex tossed a coin, and it disappeared with a soft plop. They waited. The only sound was the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Minutes passed. "See? Nothing," Lisa said, though she sounded more relieved than disappointed. Suddenly, a faint splash echoed from the water below. They all froze. Jessica grabbed Mike's arm. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Another splash, this time louder. It sounded like something, or someone, was swimming in the water. Then, without warning, a small, wet coin flew up from the darkness and landed at their feet. The group gasped, stumbling back in shock. Alex was the first to speak. "No way. That didn't just happen." Before anyone could respond, the temperature plummeted. Their breaths turned to mist in the cold air. An overwhelming feeling of dread settled over them. From the woods, a low, guttural growl emerged. It wasn't like any animal sound they'd ever heard. It was deep, rumbling, almost inhuman. "We need to get out of here," Mike said, his voice shaking. They scrambled back to the car, but as they did, something caught Jessica's eye. Standing on the far side of the bridge, partially obscured by the shadows, was the figure of a young boy. His clothes were wet, clinging to his small frame. His face was pale, almost gray, and his eyes were completely black. "Guys, look!" she stammered, pointing. They all turned, and what they saw made their blood run cold. The boy was staring at them, unmoving. And then he smiled. It was a grotesque, twisted smile that seemed too wide for his face. Without thinking, they bolted to the car, fumbling with the keys. Mike managed to start the engine, and they sped off, the car's tires screeching on the road. But their ordeal wasn't over. As they drove away, headlights appeared behind them, out of nowhere. Bright, blinding. They were being followed. "Who the hell is that?" Alex yelled, looking back. "No one was behind us," Mike insisted, but the lights were getting closer, gaining on them fast. He pressed the gas pedal to the floor, the engine roaring. But no matter how fast they went, the headlights stayed right behind them, almost like they were floating, hovering just above the ground. "Don't look back!" Lisa cried, her voice breaking. "Just don't look back!" Mike kept his eyes on the road, hands gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The headlights were so close now that the interior of the car was filled with a harsh white light. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, the lights were gone. The car plunged into darkness, the sudden absence of light almost as blinding as the beams had been. They didn't stop driving until they were well off Clinton Road, back into the safety of streetlights and civilization. They pulled into a gas station, panting, hearts racing. For a moment, they just sat there in silence, trying to process what had happened. Did we all see that?" Jessica finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. They all nodded, the gravity of what they'd experienced settling in. They never spoke of that night again, not to each other, not to anyone. But they never returned to Clinton Road, and to this day, they all avoid it like the plague. The locals still talk about the road and the things that happened there. The ghost boy, the phantom headlights, the strange noises in the woods. But for Mike, Jessica, Alex, and Lisa, the stories are all too real. So if you ever find yourself in New Jersey, driving along Clinton Road, remember this story. And whatever you do, don't stop at the bridge. Because some legends aren't just stories. Some legends are real. And on Clinton Road, the shadows are always watching,